Osimhen was linked, which is an interesting one. What do you make of that link? What do you think Arsenal's plan might be? It's surely not sell Jesus, bring in Osimhen with Havertz and with Gyökeres.
No, FK asked me this actually. We were both almost as if we're operating in an open relationship. We both cheated on each other with the same bloke last week. We went on latte firm. Both went on latte firm a few days apart. So it was the night that the Osimhen links came out. I think it was it Matt Law that dropped it initially in the Telegraph? Yeah. When we were talking about just bring us a striker before we got Gyökeres, I remember maybe it was Turkish. There were certainly a few content creators that were almost using Gyökeres and Osimhen's names interchangeably. They were just like, just bring me a gunman. Just bring me a gunman because it will improve what we have up front. All right. And I would have sat there and nodded along wherever I was listening to that. But we then saw how Gyökeres plays in our team. More often than not, some of the best stuff that we've seen from Gyökeres, we've seen the ball over the top or whatever, and we've seen a channel run on the left or the right, and he doesn't quite have the technical ability or the pace to dart in and create the one-on-one. It's good hold-up play, and he brings someone else in. Osimhen in that position is materially different. He is. He is materially different in that channel because Osimhen has, to date, made a living off being in that channel, but actually having the 1, 2, 3 touches and the speed to get in front of goal and finish that kind of chance off. So that in and of itself for me would be somewhat of not necessarily even an upgrade in output, because I'm acutely aware of the fact that when I'm talking about Gyökeres, I'm talking about our top scorer last year. But it would be a completely different 9 because Jesus will go, Havertz can't necessarily do what I just described. Gyökeres, we know, can't do what I just described, but Osimhen can. The question is, he's already on 350,000 a week. And everything that I've seen in terms of his move from Napoli, he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's going to say, oh, you know what? I'm in Turkey at the moment, but the Premier League champions want me. So I'm willing to stick, in fact, or I'm willing to accept a little bit less or whatever. No, I think he'd be saying, if you're bringing me in as the striker at the Premier League champions, I'm on 350 now. What have you got for me? Right. And the question is then, is he marquee to the same extent that you're willing to break the bank for him in the same way that you could with a Barcola or the same way that you're willing to with a Vinny? My answer there does differ slightly. It does differ slightly. And I think it will differ for the club too. And I think that is what it will come down to. I don't know. I mean, from what I've seen from you online, you're not super excited about the Osimhen links, but you think he'd improve the team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance he's better than Havertz and Gyökeres, which seems great. 2 years ago, that would have been insane to say. It would have been like, yeah, obviously he is. As in, this current version of Havertz and Gyökeres versus 2 years ago version of Osimhen. I don't watch enough of him in Turkey to know, but his numbers are brilliant. In the Champions League too, they're still brilliant. Okay, let me frame this differently. Zolis has come in and started really well, right? Martinelli, we have always described as saying, well, look, if he's the second, if he's the backup left winger, there's lots to like there. Lots of pace, gets big goals in big moments and all that. Havertz has just scored. His last 3 goals in competitive games for Arsenal were Burnley to win us the league, the Champions League final, and the second goal in the Community Shield. Those are big goals. I mean, some are bigger than others, but they're big goals.
I think he mishit that header today, by the way, but yeah, carry on. I don't think he connected with that.
He probably did. Yeah. But is there a point at which Arsenal go, what's got us here? Goals by committee? Unity? Team spirit? Arteta would have hated the scenes with Martinelli and Waneri not involved. Like, that's just not what he's about. I mean, Arteta wins a Manager of the Month award and he shares with this whole team of staff. Is there a world in which Arsenal look, there isn't that top player? So actually, if what we're bringing in just isn't better than what we've got, there's really no point doing it. Now, I'm doing a lot of devil's advocate in this podcast. I believe that you're better off freshening it up anyway. And some might go, well, Havertz is back, Downman's a year older, Waneri might be it, and Zolis has come in, so it is freshened up. Saka's fit as well. Maybe. Don't know. What's your take on all that?
We walked into this summer, all of us, with that Champions League final fresh in our minds. Yeah, we did. If you remember the conversations that we had, I can't remember which week it would have been, man. It was last year at some point where Haaland was on fire. It became clear that it was going to be the two of us in the title race, and we had this conversation about if we win the league, it is actually going to be a demonstration of exactly what you just described, which is there'll be some goals from the left, some from the middle, some from the fullback, some from the centre back, some from the centre midfield, and there isn't going to be the 25, 30 goal striker, and that worked in the Premier League, but it didn't get us over the line when we were up against the best in the world in the Champions League final. It was when that team turns it on, and the entire team that we just mentioned is under pressure. Do you have that one person who can just go, I got this. I got this. Going back to your point, there aren't that many of them out there. And there was one that we thought and we didn't get him. Who is the other? This has all started with the Osimhen discussion. Osimhen divides opinion even with fans of his in many ways. I mean, you can I've seen some Nigerians in the chat that are saying, look, I'm a huge fan of Osimhen. I think he'll be better than what we have, but the guy misses some sitters and he will frustrate you. We have that already. We do have that already in a couple of strikers. But the argument that you just ventilated about if that person isn't there, do we just not do it? The problem is we were saying the same thing last season, and that's where people's patience is wearing thin. Even though it might be rational, even though it actually might be the right decision, I can completely understand why it's frustrating. Now, if it's where I do agree with you is if it's not going to be that absolute elite player, the one that you simply know is the answer, if that's possible. If it's not going to be, like, for me, that would be Yildiz in this market. If it was doable, for me, that would be the one. If it's not going to be that, have we freshened up just by getting Solis in? A lot of people would say no. But what if I then said to you, okay, but have you seen Odegaard look like this for a while? And have you seen the difference that he makes? What if no one's talking about Bruno G when they're talking about our attack changing? What does Odegaard look like with him behind him? Well, we saw a fair bit of that today, didn't we? Wasn't he a hell of a lot closer to the box? Wasn't he making a huge difference there? Playing lovely balls in over the top, a little chip when he could to Ben White to try and bring him in, even though it ran out of play. The composure to go and bury that ball and then stick his tongue out for the second goal. All of that sort of stuff. Is that the freshening up? A player that you had returning from injury twice last season, that could be a talisman with someone like Solis, with exactly what you're saying, with someone like Saka fit, with someone like Havertz fit. Who knows? The point is, man, do you want to take that chance? You're taking a chance either way. You're taking a chance if you don't, you're taking a chance if you do. It's their job to make sure they take the right chance.
I think Arsenal should. I suppose you can't sensibly roll the dice. That's the whole point of the saying, roll the dice. But I think Arsenal should, like, for example, Rashford, Pedro Neto, Jack Grealish. These players are a roll of the dice too far for me. Nico Williams, at his release clause of 80 million, do it. Like, I think roll the dice. I think roll the dice on that, yeah. In this market, what attackers have cost or whatever, Mika Gertz, I know he's going to PSG, but that was a roll the dice. That was probably worth doing. But isn't it so funny? Like, he cost barely more than Christos Solis, and if PSG were going for Solis and we watched his highlight reel, we'd go, why are we not going for a player like that? I just think there's an element of, I don't know what Arteta in the press conference is very much saying, we want to add more, we want to do more. But I'm sure there's an element, if not from him, then from Solis himself, just going, can you stop talking about adding players? Like, I am here. Stop saying, we need to add to the attack. We need to freshen it up. Yes, I'm here. Like, I have arrived.